That was the longest time to get one viewer. That was like 5 seconds. No, wait. 30, oh, that's not 5 seconds. 38 seconds. 41 seconds to get 5 viewers. Oh my God. I feel like I've been neglecting my own channel here. I've been so busy going around to noob sites and other places, even on my own Facebook page, doing Ask Uncle Birch. I haven't been here in a while. Hello, L. Hello, Emerald City Mystic. Hello. Chaos Fiji was good, 100%. All right. I don't know what bought me this. My almost 23-year-old daughter, when she was a teenager, bought me an Iron Maiden shirt. Smart kid. What do you think of the Gallery of Magical Books? Is that a specific set? L? The Gallery of Magical Books? I'm not sure if I'm familiar with that. Was a time I kept up with all of the new publications coming out, but I just can't. I'm doing good, Emerald City Mystic. How are you, man? Damon Brands. Okay, I'm not familiar with that line of books. There's just too many books. I can tell you about old books, like the Goetia. My opinion on the Goetia. Well, you got to have the Goetia. You got to have both keys of Solomon, lesser and the greater key. That's where a lot of our magic starts. Actually, it starts with Hermes, but where a lot of our magic starts, even Wicca was borrowing heavily from all of Solomon's work. So really, you can't have the greater key without the lesser key. You got to have the Goetia. You gotta. Thank you for asking me about an old book. I'm old. There are just too many books out there regurgitating the same shit. Which is why I'm working hard before I put out a book, not to regurgitate the same shit. Probably the first book I'll put out would be an actual transcript of my year and a day class, which will not be regurgitating any of the same shit. It's funny, I saw somebody say that on the internet. You're just regurgitating the same. Really? Really? Uncle Birch? No. Nobody's regurgitating the shit that I'm regurgitating, man. Nobody's talking about the shit that I'm talking about anymore because I got a long memory. I know a lot of magic, I know a lot of witchcraft, and we play this little game here and there because I'm on this teaching frenzy. I started a class in March, it filled up. I had to start a class in May, it filled up. So I had to start a class in August, it filled up. So now, November 1st, right around the corner, WitchSkewl, year and a day. November 1st is coming, and I got to talk about that before we get into Ask Uncle Birch. Let's see, I can't see this shit with these glasses on. So much ultraviolet protection, I can't even read a screen with the damn things. But beginning November 1st, Uncle Birch is offering a correspondence course in all things witchcraft. In 1 year, Uncle Birch will teach you everything you need to know to start your path. A bold statement. I'm fucking bold. It's true. You will know more than most witches have learned in a year and a day class. My students are the best students, and if you're a teacher out there, my students can kick your students' asses. Hopefully they won't have to, but they can. My students are the best students. Okay, at any rate, everything you need to start your path in the craft, either personally or professionally. Who's teaching that? You'll receive at least 3 video classes per month, accompanied by text and PDF material. You will also interact with Uncle Birch and receive his personal insights and instructions. Beginning November 1st, 2019, we will learn craft history like you've never heard, occult philosophy and old lore, things that have been forgotten, the powers of the moon, where science and magic meet, tools of magic, keys of magic, the sun, the moon, and stars, spell work, folk magic, various folk magics, combining magics, client work, setting up shop, brewing techniques, professional witchery, protection magic, cursing, hexing, and crossing, removing curses, hexes, and cross conditions, covens, groups, how to join, and how to lead. Anybody else teaching that out there? I mean, half of that. Anybody else teaching any of that out there? No? Huh? Hear any regurgitated shit? Let's see. How to interact? I haven't got a reply to a question. Hold on. If you're talking about a reply to a question in the class, some of my students persons have not gotten the memo that all WitchSkewl correspondences should happen through WitchSkewl@gmail.com. WitchSkewl@gmail.com. Do not use my shop's email. It's all messed up. I've had several wannabe hacker haters, spam bomb the email. It's gotten almost unusable, and I'm in the process of shifting that email away from the shop. It's just connected to so many other places. I've also recently revamped my entire shop and the way we operate because we got way behind, and had some other hacks back in the day that we got past. But I recently revamped my entire process, and orders are now flowing out. So if you've been waiting for a while, do contact me at witchskewl@gmail.com and let me know. I can put a bug up my people's ass and get it there. But if you're asking me questions on my shop Sacred Grove page, I likely will not see them. I have to sift through the spam every time, and then, it's a Hotmail account, so it has a lot of legitimate spam over the 20 years I've had the damn thing anyway, so it's just unusable. Don't try and contact me there. I'm sorry it's still linked to my store, but I have to eradicate all of the places that it's linked to the store before I manually switch that from the store, and there's still a couple more that I've got to find and tweak. But all things, if you're interested in the class, here's how it works. November 1st, probably midnight on Samhain, the class will appear at gumroad.com/witchskewl, which again is WitchSkewl. The class will appear. Those who have contacted me, I will notify them. Once the class opens, there's a certain amount of spots available for the class, and then it's full. But if you contact me ahead of time with interest in the class, I can reserve your spot for you, and I have unlimited spots that I can reserve. So if you're interested in it, contact me at witchskewl@gmail.com. I can give you more details, or I can just sign you up for it. The class is $35 a month, automatically deducted. You set up an account at Gumroad, and they automatically bill you every month, so that I don't have to deal with that. But $35 a month for a year. But we do this little thing to help me be ready to help me keep my teaching muscle strong. If you're on this channel, you've probably seen the game before, but I'm getting new subscribers all the time. So, Ask Uncle Birch means you can ask me almost anything about any type of magic, even if it's not one that I specifically practice, and I will probably have something to say. Try not to be too long-winded, or I will miss part of your question, and try not to ask me a question while I'm answering a question. It's an excellent idea to copy your question, so you can paste it several times after I miss your question. I will go back in this video after it's posted and put the links to WitchSkewl and the links to the email and all that kind of crap. But right now, you're just going to have to write down what it said. WitchSkewl is WitchSkewl. The class will be hosted at gumroad.com/witchskewl. The way to do chaos magic, well, first you need to, any magic that you're not doing, you need to study. So who was that? I want to answer you. Teresa. Let's see. All right, I'm reading. Chaos magic, you need to read, you need to study. What you need to study is Phil Hine. It's Phil, the common spelling of Phil, and Hine, H-I-N-E. He has two main books published, Prime Chaos and Condensed Chaos, and I'm here to tell you that all of the material in those books was previously published to the internet by Phil Hine in PDF. You can find all of Phil Hine's works for free on the internet. If you can support his works and buy the books, great. But you don't have to go spend a pretty penny. A lot of chaos magicians like to use a lot of heady old mage speak that nobody can wrap their head around. So they sound bigger than they are. Even Osmond's Spare is gibberish to read. It's really, most of the classics that are associated with chaos magic are really hard reads. But Phil Hine, I used to read him live on on the radio, on a pirate radio station with some background music down below. And it's a great read. He's a great read. You'll understand more about chaos magic than any other source if you just read you some Phil Hine. This L says that's cheaper and probably more practicable than my college tuition. Yeah, some colleges have witchcraft courses nowadays. We teach how to summon and work with spirits on your course. Oh, yes. You know anything about Freemasonry and magic? Are they connected? Absolutely. Freemasonry operates on the same occult symbolic language that we all operate on. That all the occult uses the same symbolic language. The Masons were actually once Masons. They were some stoneworkers, peasants, whatnot. And they were working on Solomon's temple. And in their excursion of the basement of Solomon's temple, they came across some mystical things. Solomon had plenty of mystical things. At that point, the Masons become a mystical order. It all changes at that point. Before that, they were just literally stone workers. Nothing really mystical about it until something happened while they were doing their job in Solomon's temple. Then they became a mystical order. So the things within the Masonic temples will be things associated with the magics we know of Solomon, taken to another degree. I'm not a Mason, so I can't tell you any of their secrets, although the majority of their secrets are on the internet, and I do know those, and I know the purpose behind the ritual of the guy hit on the head with a hammer, who will come save this mother's son. I know the rituals, oddly enough, for their initiations, because they've been published over the years. But absolutely, there's a connection. And I try to always remind people, here in America, we're going through a process where the insane Christian right is in control of the helm of the country, and have been pushing the agenda that this is in fact a Christian country, and passing laws to support the religious rights only of Christians. And most times those religious rights are their right to be bigots to somebody else, but they're not supporting the religious rights of other religions. Now, the founding fathers of the United States of America were rarely Christian, and the majority of them had no connection to Christianity at all, because Christianity, where they came from, was controlled by the Church of England. And the Church of England had been controlled by kings all the way back to, before King James rewrote the Bible. The Church of England was in control, so the state was running the religion. This is the entire reason for our separation of church and state in the United States. And the founding fathers, for all their mistakes, some of them were terrible people and they had slaves and all that, but they did have a vision, and it's a brilliant vision, and it's kept the country running for quite some time until this regime is trying to dismantle the entire Constitution. The reason that since wanted separation of church and state was not to have freedom of religion as much as it was to have freedom from religion. Where they came from, the state controlled religion, and they didn't want to be controlled by the king anymore. America, revolution, all that shit. It had nothing to do with Christianity, and they didn't want the freedom to be Christians. They wanted freedom from religion. And that's why we had the separation of church. We had the separation of church and state for most of this country's history until the last 2 years or so. I mean, it could be argued that George W. Bush was courting the evangelical Christian right too, but somehow he wasn't quite as insane as the current regime is with it now. Although back then, we thought it was the most insane thing ever. And George Bush's original platform was to do away with the Wiccan religious rights and to kick the Wiccans off of military bases, which was a big thing in the press at the time. So founding fathers probably benefited us greatly in this country with that stance. Hi, Uncle Birch. Any info on gypsy magic? You know, that's having info on gypsy magic and relaying that as a non-practitioner, and that's not even a good word. We're not supposed to use that word. God, what is the word? A gypsy. The good word for gypsy? Roma and Romani. So I would not, I do know some stuff, but I would not talk about their stuff because that would be like some serious cultural appropriation right there. I never practiced it, but I have a story. One year, I ended up with these gypsies came into my shop, and they all got readings. No one hired me to do a thing. There was, in a certain part of town nearby, the psychic readers were all gypsies in one small geographical location Romani, from different families, and as such they were warring with each other over territory, over psychic reading territory. This really fucking happens, okay? So I had no idea. They were even there. I had no idea they even had a community, but once I came into contact with them, I'm still in contact with them, still clients to this day. And I got hired to work against another one, and I did my job. They showed me some, some really bad stuff this person was involved in, so it was easy to get me on board. They're ripping people off and charging them like $25,000 a pop to remove curses that didn't exist. It happens. I don't know who's got. I've never seen somebody that I thought had $25,000. I guess I'm not a good con man. So it turned out one of these people was one of my customers, and they started coming into my shop buying protection stuff. So I was like, I was making it in both hands. But I had a rule. I was in a small community with witches and stuff. My rule was the first one that comes to me to get help gets the help. Even if it turns out I know the person that they're working about later, professional, as a professional, I'm not going to tell the other person, but I'm going to take the job from the first person that I accept the job from, regardless of what I find later down the road. Now later, these gypsies, these Romani, asked me to come to their house on Samhain. They were having a family gathering, so apparently Samhain was significant to them too, and I was going there to do readings for the family, and it was Samhain. I had religious duties, I had family duties. Marta over here was not having it. There's no way can you go do that on Samhain. We got stuff to do, and they just, every time I said no, they threw down another 300. And every time I just kept saying no, and they just kept throwing it.
Finally, I was like,
throwing it down. I'm looking at 2 months rent sitting on a table in front of me. So, then I talked to Marta. She's all right. We'll take one for the team, try and get out of there early. I got back before midnight, and we did our stuff. But then I went to this house. And first I started in this room with older people. And I read for them. Then the middle-aged people. And I read for them. And it wasn't until I got to the kitchen table of the young girls, about 13, 12, this age, when I realized that every person in that family was a reader. They all read tarot. They all had their own interpretations for the tarot, and some of them would mention it, but they wouldn't argue against my reading. But so an entire family of readers that has been brought up reading since they were old enough to read, hired me to read for their entire family. And one thing that I did learn that was interesting there, because one of the girls was 12, and she wanted me to cast some cards telling her about her future husband. I was like, well, I don't think you need to worry about that right now. You're young. You got a whole life ahead of you. And she says, no, in our family, we're arranged by 13 years old. We're in an arranged marriage by 13 years old. My husband's already picked out, but I don't know much about him. Can you pull some cards and tell me about him? And I said, whoa. I guess if I'd have pulled some cards, I might have seen that, but I had no idea that that was a thing, or that there was cultures here in America still practicing extremely old, outdated practices like arranged marriages. But in the Romani culture, apparently that's a thing. So while I won't talk about their magics and stuff like that, I did gain a unique insight into pieces of their culture. I learned a lot, and they've been, you know, friends and clients since then. They, you know, somehow always tracked me down and found my phone number, called me up. So we're doing this thing called Ask Uncle Birch. I'm getting ready for my November 1st year and a day class to start, which will be hosted at gumroad.com/WitchSkewl. Now do not go there and sign up to any class that says year and a day on it. You'll be in the wrong class. It started months ago, and it'll screw everything up, and then we'll have to figure everything out. The class will appear November 1st. I'm hoping around Samhain at midnight, although, you know, I could be in Circle or something doing some shit at midnight. I'll step out and post the class, but the class will appear then. If you want to sign up for the class ahead of time, you're still going to have to sign up at November 1st, but your slot will be secured if you contact me ahead of time at witchskewl@gmail.com, which again is WITCHSKEWL. Whenever Uncle Birch says WitchSkewl, it is WITCHSKEWL, because people with my same last name, who I'm not related to, whose entire tradition kind of named after me, the Corellians, well, they took the common spelling of WitchSkewl a decade ago, so it was already taken, and I kind of like my spelling anyways. But to get me ready, to keep my teaching muscles strong, and as a community service, I do this thing called Ask Uncle Birch, where you can ask almost anything. I love it on my channel. We get a kind of diverse crowd. Sometimes I go to absolute new witch channels, and I really sound like an old wise man there, because every question that I'm asked there, I've been asked 10 times on that channel. And people ask the same question every time. So I have canned responses ready for most questions when I'm on the absolute new witch channel. But here we're a little more diverse. We got people been on my channel for a long time, people from all over the map, and you're not necessarily noobs. Although I picked up a lot of viewers from that channel too. But so I do this here, there, everywhere as a community service, because there's so much bullshit out there. And I'm a teacher, that's my job. But it's not just about getting paid. It's about doing good work, doing the great work, keeping the craft alive. Well, let me have this hit I've been waiting on here. Keeping good teachings and good material out there, and opposing bullshit. There's so much bullshit people spread around on the internet about witchcraft. It behooves an old man like me to say, you kids get off my lawn, and straighten shit out. So I do that. But you can ask almost anything about it. Just have a magic. I may miss your question, because if you ask me a question when I'm already answering a question, I will not look at your question, because it confuses me and I get two tracks of my mind going in two different directions. It's an excellent idea to copy and paste your question after I miss it several times. Try not to be too long-winded, because I just get this little balloon. And if it's too long-winded, it'll say see more, and when I hit see more, I won't see more butts. It doesn't happen. You love it when I say that.
I was thinking see more butts.
I could feel you think of that. What? Yeah. Are some gods territorial? Is that if you go to them, they get angry if you can include other gods in your work? What if you find that you're not a good fit? Will some get upset and leave? Stone Witch, happy 420. Yeah, it's always 420 here. Yeah. You know, the only one that really comes to mind, I mean, there probably are some. There are humans kind of program our own baggage into our gods. I don't really know, if it started with the gods or we imposed that in them, but they end up operating with those things that we program into them. But Santissima, Santa Muerte, is one that I know. She has to have her own altar. You can have an altar with several Santa Muertes on them because they're kind of color coded and each color does a different thing. But she will not share her space with any other bitch. And she gets really pissy about that. So I imagine there are gods like that. But, when you say territorial, I kind of think of, part of the problem I see with the cultural appropriation arguments out there is that, as Uncle Birch always says, gods don't recognize borders. And you don't get to put a box around God or a god and have them stay there. You are the creation, not the creator, and you have no power to put them in a box and limit who they are. We can make definitions and personifications upon gods, but we cannot say that they are only those personifications and definitions that we give them. We can add to them, we can add to their essence, but we can never take away from who they are or limit who they will evolve to become. So when people say these kind of things, I was like, my ancestors won't work with you because you're white and they were enslaved. That kind of argument. No, you know what? I'm in an ATR. I'm in Palo Mayombe. And what I learned about my ancestors in a tradition that's all about the dead is that the tradition is to elevate your ancestors, to elevate them. And people think about this in a purely spiritual sense and don't take it to its logical next step. Ancestors that are still butthurt about what some people with a certain color skin did once upon a time are not elevated. Because I would hope that upon my death, I will become elevated and not ruled by the bigotries of mankind. Likewise, in some of these traditions, let's say Palo, since I went there. In Palo, we are taught by traditions that the ancestors frown upon gay people in the traditions. Now, I understand that these traditions originally came from places that were enshrined in bigotry, but why should I not lift my ancestors up beyond that? Why should they be limited by human conditions after death? Why should they have petty hatreds and bigotries and homophobia? Why should they be misogynist? Why should they be tripping on women having menstrual cycles within the traditions? Okay, I understand a lot of old people did that, and it was, very sinful when women bled. That's a very Catholic thing. But we're beyond that now. We're beyond that with homophobia in the world. Why should not my ancestors be above that? And never one of my ancestors ever came to me as a bigot or a misogynist. And my Nkisi never said to be so, and my Lucero never said it either. I think this absolute bullshit that is in every tradition and every religion out there, even Jehovah, for all his tweakiness, should not have been a bigot if he was a god. He should not have been so consumed. I mean, that one, people say that all the time. It's like, the ancestors don't want to deal because you were white and white people once enslaved them. Oh yeah? Well, go back farther and their ancestors were enslaved by brown-skinned people. Okay? And you go far enough back, well, eventually then it's the Greeks and the Romans, which had a lighter skin too. But the white people did not invent slavery. Okay? A certain point of history, certain white people perfected it, but slavery was practiced before that. Before the Dutch slave trade, slavery still happened. And back biblically, the people enslaving the Jews were the Egyptians, African people, brown skin. Okay? We have these very limited philosophies that we try and put on our ancestors and our gods. Do you think my gods can't see beyond Egypt? Really? Do you think they can't see beyond the Dutch slave trade? Do you think that they can't see that kings in Africa sold their enemies into slavery and happened to be black? I think my ancestors see a bigger picture. A class war. Class war has always been there. Race wars never really happened. but it's always been about class. It just so happened that at a certain point, white people amassed more of the wealth than other people. And that fuels slavery just as much as skin color. So at any rate, I don't even know what that rant was about, but that's a good rant and it needed to be said. People need to be repeating that. I don't want my gods full of crap and bigotry. I don't want my ancestors and my spirits full of fucking crap. Get over it. Get bigger. Elevate. It's my job to elevate them past that. I don't play that shit. Thank you. Ask me a question. Okay, I had a question. I'm a city mystic of Agrippa. I was confused about what elements each of the watchtowers represent because the watchers, well, first of all, Agrippa, you got to study Agrippa, you got to study Abramelin, Solomon, all of the old works are going to lead into a lot of the natures. The Gregori stand at the cardinal points of north, south, east, and west, which in a lot of the traditions have elemental associations with them. However, the watchers are not exactly elementally associated. They're beyond that. The watchers are kind of hard to describe. But in some very old traditions, the god in control of this particular sphere experimented for a while with a varying number of species. They say imbuing different species with intelligence and then seeing what happened. And the point was for these life forms to evolve to a higher spiritual level. And the Gregori did that. But when they got to this high spiritual plateau, the god in charge didn't yet have a plan for what to do with the species that actually reached that goal. Kind of fumbling around, this god. It's kind of, those are some interesting legends, and they exist in a great many of the old religions. Didn't really have a plan yet. Just kind of just experimenting like we do, see what would happen. So the watchers were imbued into these stars at the four cardinal points of the planet, there to sit forever, guarding the portal between this world and the next, or the portals between this world and the next. And that's probably the most narrow that we can define the watchers. But their cardinal points aren't necessarily reflecting an elemental construct or concept. Does that make it more sense? Pretty sure you're in my class, so I don't know. Maybe you already asked me that question. I mean, some homework I don't answer, and some I do. If there's something I feel I need to input, I input. But homework is really for the student, for you to be trying to work stuff out on paper. Let's see. Hey, Birch, what is your opinion on the best source for magic and witchcraft in Roman times? I don't really know of any good magical books that survive. I mean, the problem with your question is the fire at Alexandria. The reason the earth went through the Dark Ages is because the fire at Alexandria, the largest of the Roman libraries, was entirely wiped out. And what is said is that all of human knowledge gained since then, gone. We didn't even know how to keep the aqueducts running anymore. We used to have indoor plumbing, and then all of a sudden we didn't. Then we had, the plague and all this other stuff that the Romans probably had cures for back in their day, but that one fire wiped out what is said to be the entirety of human knowledge. Now, somehow, probably because these books stayed with the generals and didn't go to the libraries, the Roman battle records exist. And the Roman battle records are intact. And we will ever learn about certain pagan cultures, the heathens, Probably the most we're going to learn about the heathens back then is from the Romans while they were fighting them. The Druids. The Druids didn't leave a whole lot of records. The most that we learn about the Druids is from the Roman battle records, but they kept really precise records. And even when they're getting their asses kicked, they kept really good notes. But I don't know of good magical books to survive. I know of one really good spell where you get a sheet of lead and you carve the name of your enemy on it, and then each day you cross out one letter in their name starting from the end of the name towards the beginning. Brutal. I've seen variations of that, but the one right on the lead, gnarly. Make sure you wash your hands. You don't want the lead all over you.
Make sure you wash your leg first.
Yeah. Wash your leg?
Your curving stuff.
Yeah.
Your leg.
Oh, yeah. Wash
You
it.
want to be, it's dirty, it's going to get infected.
Yeah.
Wash
Wash
it first.
it.
I have some interesting news for you.
Oh, really? Hold on.
We left New Orleans on August 12th.
Yeah.
So August 13th in New Orleans, their very first medical marijuana dispensary opened in New Orleans. They just approved it for medical in August this year. Like
Wow.
Right when we went.
I thought everybody had medical marijuana by now.
They didn't. So they just approved it in August, and the first one in New Orleans, it has to be distributed by a pharmacy, so it's at a pharmacy.
Wow, that's weird.
There's only one. This just happened. So
We're getting ready for the November. I'm exposing my daily rituals. See the sun come up. See the sun go down. We just got to the point where we can see the sunset from our veranda here. During the summer, it's over that way. So we're just getting to the point where we can see sunset. Same thing, moonrise, moon peak, moonset, shields up. Shields up. Have some sort of protection thing that you can. What?
shields up, hose down.
Shields up, hose down. Alright, let me see if I missed anything.
What?
Daily rituals you use for protection. Go watch my video on this channel called Psychic Self-Defense Shields Up. You'll see. Hi, Uncle Birch. Do you reveal an attacker's identity if you suspect someone is casting against you? Your WitchSkewl, by the way, is genuinely amazing. Oh, thank you, Leonardo. I do, but the nature of an actual magical attacker that knows what they're doing is steeped in the art of war. And page 1, verse 1 of the Art of War, all warfare is based on deception. And if anybody knows that, they're deceptive. They're trying to hide who they are. They're going to make it hard. I don't want to waste a whole lot of time on that. I can, make a thing for, attacker, unidentified attacker. I may find out who they are. If I don't find out who they are right away, do the thing anyways. At an unnamed attacker, I'll make a sigil for that thing and do the thing on that thing. I don't necessarily need to know who did it, who done it. Preach, Uncle Birch. Amen. Okay. Would a servitor create more negativity if that was the servitor's main food source? Oh, you've been following me. Oh, James. Oh, of course you have. It could. That's the thing. When you're making a servitor or an egregore or anything, you gotta think like a computer programmer. You've got to think of everything that could go wrong and however you're coding to make up for that. So you make you make it so the servitor is not creating negativity just to get more food. What James is talking about is my idea of a self-propelled protection servitor that consumes negativity directed at you as its food source, as often as a regular servitor. They're kind of self-propelled. They've been given the power to derive their own fuel. But Jamie's asking, could such a servitor create negativity to get fuel. And it's like, unless, you know, it's like Frankenstein, man, unless you got something blocking it from doing that, it could evolve to do that, you know, or, you know, only consume the negativity sent at me, you know, something like that. You have very specific command lines in your programming of the servitor, and you can program a servitor to do anything you can put into a sentence. Let's see. Greetings from Ireland. Top of the morning to you. I don't know if it's morning, but have you any experience? Any experience of anybody being killed by the Fae? No, but your country sure has a lot of legends and fairy tales about it, so I haven't really known anybody. I got one close. It comes from your country. It's a legend from your country. Yes. John DeLorean. Most of you, at least Americans, you know DeLorean as the car in Back to the Future. Well, it was a really popular car like in the 80s. It was the only car with a door that, you know, opened up like that. It looked like a spaceship. People loved that kind of shit. Well, John DeLorean made an auto plant in Ireland. I don't know where in Ireland. Now, I'm told, and you know, I got a lot of Irish blood, but I've never been to Ireland. But you tell me if I'm wrong. Probably the most sacred tree to the fairies in Ireland, and of all the sacred trees in Ireland, would be the hawthorn tree, the guardian between the fairy world and our world. And you never cut it, you never prune it, you never fuck with it, ever. Don't fuck with a hawthorn. Pisses off the fairies to no end. Now, John DeLorean was building a plant in Ireland, and it came time, had to make a parking lot. So they're making a parking lot. And in the parking lot, there's this large old growth hawthorn where the parking lot's supposed to go. Workers refused to damage the hawthorn. They walked off the job. Legend has it, John DeLorean himself climbed upon that tractor and fired it up and mowed down this ancient hawthorn tree. Probably ancient enough that the Druids probably once brought offerings to it. Now, within a year and a day, they say, John DeLorean got caught filling the tires with cocaine and shipping them into the United States. The entire car operation was funded by cocaine and smuggling it. And the car's main purpose was to smuggle cocaine into the United States from Ireland. I don't know, somehow it was easier to get it into Ireland, and then I don't know why that was the logical step. But if you think of cocaine in terms of fairy dust, which it is sometimes called, and you think of the irony of what happened after John DeLorean took out the fairy's tree, the prison sentence that he served, John DeLorean finally got out of prison and was going to start making his cars. I haven't seen a DeLorean, or I haven't seen a new DeLorean, so maybe it's ran out of money, I don't know. But that you do find construction of the plant, at least, not even the completion of the plant. He's arrested for smuggling cocaine in the United States and served a very long prison sentence. Not exactly death, but if I was always said, or I was always taught, when it's like elemental forces, like the little people, the fae, gnomes, what you got, they have an ironic way of doing you in. There's always an irony involved. There's always a twist. And that particular legend, I think, could fit quite nicely into old Irish fairy tales. Just put a little flair in it, put a lilt to it, and you got a new Irish fairy tale. May be true, may not be, but hell of a fucking legend, and elements of the legend definitely look to be true. 'Twas the Fae that did DeLorean in. Seemed to be smuggling the cocaine for quite some time before he did that to the hawthorn tree. and suffered his demise. Just when I thought I didn't have anything to say. Ah! Shit. God damn it. Ah, got it. Put a screen up there and I couldn't get rid of it. Any tips for keeping your thoughts inside your head so spirits and entities can't pick up on them? Yeah, don't speak them for one. And cancel. I always teach mental programming. There's certain dialogues we don't want to allow to continue within our head because they're detrimental to us and they're just our inner critic. We need to learn to say cancel, just cut them off and delete them before they become part of our long-term well, you're on my channel to break a curse. There's, I think, 3 different versions. A long time ago, I used some sort of laptop where the video source, the audio wouldn't work well on smartphones. And eventually we found out that if you plugged in headphones on those smartphones, those videos would work. I never able to figure out how to edit them or make them any better so they would work without the headphones, because not everybody got that message to plug in their damn headphones. So I think I shot 3 different versions of that. So there's one that's smartphone friendly, you know, if you don't want to use your headphones. If you can watch them both, I'm sure I didn't say the exact same thing. There are 2 different time indexes on them, so maybe there's something to get from both of the videos. But right here, I'll tell you, you know, the common symptoms of a curse and the common and less common cures. Having a hard time connecting with my ancestors. I was told I need to find out why most of my family got recently sick. I tried a white candle in water. That's pretty common. Like a bovida, white table with a white cloth, a white candle, and a glass. It's really all you need. Ask them to come in your dreams. Make a sigil asking for your ancestors to come talk to you in your dreams, and then make that sigil the last thing you look at before you go to sleep every night for, you know, a couple weeks at least, and then burn the sigil, maybe on Samhain. Yeah, do that now. Just do it every night till Samhain, and then burn the sigil. I got it. That'll work. Ask Uncle Birch. Oh, are you picking me flowers? So we are getting ready for the November 1st WitchSkewl Year in a Day course, which will appear November 1st, SKEWL. You can take your chances and wait for that to pop up and try and sign up, and hopefully it doesn't get filled. You know, midnight, October 31st, roughly. Or you can secure your spot now simply by sending me an email saying you want to take the course. It's $35 a month for a year. And you can contact me at WitchSkewl, WITCHSKEWL, at gmail.com. Now, I'm gonna be right back. My wife has failed to bring the pot up. So I gotta go get the pot. I'll be right. And I gotta make my wife a drink, get the pot, then we'll have all of our vices ready. So you just, you know, we'll go ahead and do that thing. Okay, just get your question ready. I'll be back.
Thank you, honey.
Yes, honey. Hey, dog. Hey, dog. All right. Always a good crowd on my channel, and I don't have to watch what I say. When I go on those new channels, I have to, be very nice, not talk about anything going on. I'm always nice. But you couldn't tell me about, certain news that was happening, but you could tell me on my channel. Like we just found out that New Orleans just opened their first medical marijuana place, or they just passed a law, or
that's the thing, is they don't have,
you get it at a pharmacy.
They don't have specific dispensaries.
Yeah.
Like it has to be, I think, in a pharmacy.
And I had no idea. I thought pretty much everybody had medical by now.
The day after we left New Orleans, I think, was the day that it opened.
August 3rd.
There's only one in New Orleans. Yeah, August 13th.
So on the festival of Hecate
and
Aradia's birthday, they did it.
And I think that's the only one that's in New Orleans now. They have them in 12 places in the state, but there's one in New Orleans and Baton Rouge. I was wondering, did you give your prescription to go into that pharmacy? You give them a prescription, but after that, you just walk in and do it. I'm sure there'll be more opening up.
Yeah.
I'm guessing. But for now, there's the one.
We are doing Ask Uncle Birch because I'm getting ready for another year and a day course. I'll have 4 of them going at once now, starting November 1st, which makes me my job as full-time teacher of witchcraft even more full-time. And I keep myself ready by doing this, because there's always new stuff out there. There's always new questions. I need to know what the kids these days want to know about. Counter that shit. I think that let the craft be turned into a worthless pile of made-up shit. Okay? That's what we got going on when we got half the kids out here saying all that matters is intent and do whatever you feel. Crap like that. Why would any of us need to study anything or have any books long? So, if you've not played the game before, you can ask me almost anything about any kind of magic, and I might answer. Try not to be too long-winded. Try not to ask. Dedicating every orgasm to Lilith. Bad idea. Or bad idea? A ritual I found in a book. I don't know. I mean, Lilith's a touchy one. Those dark goddesses, man, they're touchy, but Lilith like to create demons and fuck them and stuff. But really a bad idea. Even the dark goddesses, they can be very intense, very, very volatile, but there's a lot of fear I see with a lot of kids when they're working with the gods. And I always like to say it like this, like, the majority of these gods and goddesses that we have were once worshipped by entire nations. Everybody sang their praise and everybody was present at their festivals. Then Christianity comes along. Some of the gods got turned into saints. They kept a higher position. The majority of the goddesses, with one notable exception that I can think of, Bridget. Strong? Really? God, some days I do the same measurements and it's not as strong. You know what? Of course I have. Try and stir it. I don't think I stirred it. Sorry. Yeah. I make her strong drinks. Whoops. Anyway, what am I talking about? But then the church comes along and heaps scorn upon them. Converts the goddesses into demons, and then they get shat on for a few thousand years. And then this neo-paganism and Wicca thing happens, and people start to elevate them from the muck up to their previous positions on pedestals. I'm of the belief that the majority of the gods and goddesses I've ever worked with felt gave a feeling of appreciation just to be remembered, just to be worshipped again. I mean, don't take it for granted, be polite, be nice, that kind of shit, but I don't see any reason to fear any of them. You don't have to worry about, somebody was worried about, I accidentally gave Hecate offering. Sometimes it is the thought that counts, because the thoughts that we have, or what Roman gods are really specific about that, especially the Greek. That whole Clash of the Titans was all about that. Not enough power from the worship of the humans. So even now, anger being remembered. So I saw several people asking me the question. I won't see it. Did a transformation ritual for this dark moon, but realized Pluto was retrograde. Direct. So, everybody talking about, and I know Pluto, and I know what Pluto does, and Pluto, people are talking about all these secrets that are going to be revealed, all the stuff that's going to come to light. In my world, it came to light. Entire secret page that have been bashing me for a fucking year. With Christian Day again. But then I started getting screenshots from like a year ago. These fucking people were up in my shit. And, they're hating. And, when they're a bunch of witches or magic users, I assume that they're going to throw magic. So either these people's magic just sucked so bad, or my magic was just that good. They weren't a blip on my fucking radar. My protections were never triggered by any of them. I was never threatened by any of them, and it was a damn good year because I was transforming that shit. I think that the energies of Pluto going direct were very prominently in play at least 2 weeks before Pluto went direct, and this was happening with a bunch of Wittershins broadcasts that are reposted on this page. You can hear all about that kind of crap. But the amount of revelations that came to me during the period before Pluto went direct were drastic, and I've really seen a whole lot come to light since Pluto went direct. So the energies may not be exactly as we designate them to be sometimes. Where can I find more about the Morrigan? Study Celtic stuff. The Celtic goddess goes way back. Even the Celtic goddesses and gods were. There was the Book of Kells, written by a bunch of monks in Ireland. Secured the places of the Irish gods and goddesses forever. And it was very accurately told, but the monks couldn't really conceive of other god forms running around, so the tales were more told as like mystical folk heroes and warriors too, but hacked. Heroes definitely going to be in there. Should witches become involved in countering dark magic of the cabal, or just raise their own vibration and shift to desired parallel reality? Fights. I absolutely support hexing and all magics upon the current regime of the United States, and I can see that the last one was effective, even though the last one had a lot of resistance, a lot of infighting, a lot of people fighting against it, right-wing witches fighting the left-wing witches and whatnot. That slowed things down a bit, as a path of resistance will often do, but the unraveling that has happened to the current state of affairs in the United States in the last couple weeks is ironic as fuck. And when the magic arrives, it may be hard to figure out the manifestation of that magic, but look for this one thing in all things. The magic will arrive on the wings of irony. On the wings of irony. The fact that our current president is in trouble for doing some very bad shit that he shouldn't have done, and he went and hid the bad things that he did on a private server, just like the whole Hillary thing, is ironic as fuck. The fact that he's in trouble for asking his leaders of other countries to interfere in our election process right after he kind of slid through, not totally scathed, for the Russiagate process, where actually it was said if he was not a sitting president, he would be indicted. The irony of the things that are coming to light, and this, again, happened during Pluto retrograde, these secrets that have been revealed that are rocking America and the world, are ironic as fuck. That spell didn't not work, or those spells didn't not work, but they took a while, and that's the nature of magic. The more resistance they run into along the way, the longer it's going to take for your spell to manifest. Doesn't mean that the spell's not there. I've had shit manifest years later that I forgot I fucking cast. So it will arrive on the wings of irony. But as far as like countering the dark forces, well, that's going to take us to the whole black magic and white magic thing that is really a concept rooted in racism that existed within the occult. The higher schools of ceremonial magic always looked down on the lower schools of black magic, and those schools tended to be practiced by black people. They tended to have, an ire against voodoo and other traditions that were practiced by black people. The entire idea of black magic and white magic is rooted in racism, and we just should stop talking like that. A long time ago, there was a left-hand path and a right-hand path, and they seemed very different and opposed to each other. But the concept by which those philosophies ran merged over time. Okay? The right-hand path serving others, and the left-hand path believed in themselves. Right-hand path believed that the gods were outside of ourselves, and left-hand path believed that the gods were inside of ourselves. It tends to be common to work for others and work for yourselves, and we tend to believe that she is within us and without us. As above, so below, as without, so within. We've actually gone full circle back to what it originally meant in Hermetics, but the right-hand path and the left-hand path were never diametrically opposed. They were two sides of one coin, and those two sides blurred over time, and most magicians didn't recognize that even happened. And we still have people talking about the right-hand path and the left-hand path as if they're different things, or a pentagram and an inverted pentagram as being different things. If you look closely, my pentagram has an inverted pentagram within it. Much more accurate. That ship sailed way before you were a sperm. Do you believe a new practitioner while giving offerings and trying to work with Orisha deities could actually insult the gods they're trying to work with by not knowing enough about the ritual? If you're getting involved in an initiatory tradition that requires initiation, it would be the proper respect to follow those traditions, go through the initiations. And I absolutely recognize that. Would those gods, in fact, be offended by you working with them having not been initiated? No, I do not believe that. Way before I was a Polero, I had an Elegua. I always had an Elegua, or at least an Ele to do. And I never got that Elegua was mad at me for recognizing. Now, my Elegua did not have the right things inside it. It was an empty concrete statue. But I worked it. I worked it properly. I learned enough about the old traditions. I learned how to, do the shotgun cigar thing. Learned how to spray the whiskey or the rum on them. I did it every Monday. I did it without fail. Doors open. Every time, doors open. Business was good. Never got a bad response. Never. He's a trickster. He could have totally fucked with me if he wanted to fuck with me. That's his thing. You know, you invite a trickster into your sphere, you know, they could fuck with you. He never did. Never did. What?
Joseph Robichaux wrote a book about it.
Joseph Robichaux wrote a book about Elegua.
Yeah.
Huh. Let's read that.
It's like a work.
Oh, my tata told this. Just leave it there. I hope somebody found it. Work with it. I'm sorry, dude. Me tata told me. And in that tradition, I did follow what the tata told me to do. Once you become tata, you have a little bit more leeway. Now I work with Lucero. Lucero is Elegua. Another name, different tradition out of Africa, but Lucero does all the same things, all the same processes, all the same likes and dislikes, different songs to sing to him is about the main difference. He exists in a different tradition. Palomayombe has an equivalent for every Orisha. We just call them different things. But each one of those, like we're scratched to Madre d'Agua. Madre d'Agua does all the same things, has all the same likes and dislikes as Yemeya. Her worship days are the same as Yemeya. Her offerings are the same as Yemeya. You know,
So you'd be scratched to Madre d'Agua, for example, would be crowned Elegua. Like it doesn't have
yeah. Well, okay. And in those, okay, so I see Ifa, Ocha, Santeria, there's a couple others that are very, even Voodoo, they all operate with the same Orishas and the same things about the Orishas, the same stuff each Orisha wants, all of these 4 African traditional religions, all working with the same Orishas, doing the same stuff, but utilizing them in different traditions, different stuff. So this pantheon, these Orishas, have assembled themselves into several different traditions that have similarities but are drastically different traditions. Like Voodoo, compared to all of the other ones that I named in that pantheon, drastically different. But the working with those Orishas is roughly the same. The concepts behind them is the same. Their likes, their dislikes, their offerings, roughly the same, showing that those Orishas can, it's that thing that Uncle Birch always says, gods don't recognize borders. Just because they're from pop up with a different, but I never saw any offense. There was a river, and I learned a long time ago from the boss at the first witch store that I was working at when I was the manager. She was studying voodoo officially, and she taught me certain things. And I met Louisa Tish, and I learned certain things from her. And I learned about Oshun, the spirit of the river. Home from work, sometimes I'd have my kid with me, my daughter. We learned how to, get a cantaloupe and pour honey into it and put it into the river to Oshun. My daughter would pick little orange flowers on the way down the levee and would throw them into the river for Oshun. Oshun never smited my daughter or myself, and a matter of fact, that river, I was working that river for many things, but that river became a very Uji river. Seriously mystical shit happened on that river for me all the time, and I have a wealth of stories that I'll tell for the rest of my life of weird shit that happened on that river. But the weird shit that happened on that river always happened from the bridge where I made offerings to Oshun. I was not, crowned Oshun, any of that shit. Now, as Marta was chiming in over here, you could be scratched to Madre d'Agua and then crowned to Elegua. The rule is you can be in Ifa, Ocha, Santeria, any of those, and be Palo. You have to be Palo first. You can't be these and then go that. But you can be this and go there. Palo naturally it flows into that they're compatible that way if you're scratched in Palo first. So now there's plenty of people, and even our Tata wanted to get us into Ocha and all that stuff. It's like, no, I'm gonna stay here in Palo and learn as much as I can about Palo before going on to other things. I have so many friends that, even a friend that he was Palo before me, and he was butthurt that I didn't let me scratch him into Palo. Well, prior to that, he was Hoodoo, and then he was a Hecate devotee and got a tattoo, and him and his girlfriend got tattoos of Hecate right here, and a week before that, it was something else. Dabblers. Whoa, Crow. Yeah. I don't believe in dabbling. I believe in experiencing many traditions, but immerse yourself into them. Don't just like do a little bit of shit and then go on to some other shit. I don't yet know enough about Palo to be incorporating enough tradition or another tradition, and the requirements for those traditions would be a little hard to work into my life. Having to carry my own food bowl around and only eat out of that bowl, wear white for a year, sleep on a mat, not look at a mirror. You can't not look at a mirror. I mean, like, would this count? I'm looking at myself on a fucking camera. I don't know. That's more commitment than I'm ready to make anyways. Anyway, I gave you a long answer for your question, didn't I? Whoever the hell you were. So, all right. So, oh my goodness. All right, we're going to have to do a couple more. It's been a long one. I didn't realize time has been flying. I'll do 3 more. We're getting ready for my November 1st WitchSkewl class to open. And I do this kind of thing to keep my teaching mind fresh and as a public service to you. Ask Uncle Birch. You got a question about magic? You can see right there several traditions that I don't even practice. I had a lot to say about. And I think I was rather accurate. Along with Mercury, probably. I'm probably gonna say something along those lines. I'm more into making servitors for that kind of thing. Spirits have their own likes or dislikes. Got to make certain offerings to them. There's always a price. If you're working with demons, there's always a price, and the price is going to be harder to come by than you thought. But if you make the deal to the demon and don't pay up, well, then you're fucked. Let's see. Can you give us a way to protect your children? Put under their pillows. A lot of people just make kind of like a mojo bag with that. If you're gonna make a mojo bag, you can do one better. You do mugwort. Put like a high John root in there. Maybe some frankincense. No, rosemary would be better for like under a pillow thing. So rosemary, mugwort, high John in a black bag with red string. Woo, that's actually very old school what I just gave you. So that's all right. That's 2. Let's see. All right, we're gonna do one more, and then I gotta go. It's like 83 minutes on this thing. It's gonna take forever to post. I gotta go do some other stuff. Yeah, you're the other stuff too. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I'll do some other stuff. Hey, man, I'm pagan. That's sacred. You tripping?
We're married too.
Married's legit. It's the most legit thing I've done.
Our union is holy.
Our union is holy.
The holiest thing you've ever done.
Yeah.
We had our
Holy.
child.
I don't know if you guys can hear all this. Alright. Just waiting for a question.
Oh, I was going to tell you that. I just read a story. You know that energy secretary, Rick Perry, who's leaving?
Yeah.
That piece of shit?
Yeah.
So Trump now is saying, I didn't even want to make that call to Ukraine, but now I see everything, and they're like, Rick Perry is not mentioned anywhere in here at all. And
These are some of the stories we'll be covering on It's a Beautiful
and
Day.
And he goes, more will be coming out in the next few days. So he's got like a whole list of people.
Wait a minute. Oh, what was it say? Yeah, these are some of the stories we'll be covering Monday morning on our new news show that we do every Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. Pacific time. It's a beautiful day. You'll see it reposted here too. The weirdest event. What was the weirdest event in my store? I had weird ones before I was in the store, but
I had that
God.
person bring me. Anything really weird happen?
All right, I got one. There was a section in Iran right next to each other.
Walked into a bar.
Yeah. A Muslim woman walked into the store and stole the Quran because it was offensive to her to have it not be on a top shelf by itself and to have it side by side with Christianity and Judaism. She was followed down the street by one of the workers, and we never got the book back. But that's not even the weirdest story. I'm gonna give you one more because that wasn't good enough. But
The sign?
yeah, but the thing to is the Quran, the Bible, and the Torah are the same fucking book with the same stories, the same characters, diverging on one certain point. Whether Muhammad or Jesus was the prophet, or if the prophet never fucking came yet. These are the main divisions, but it's the same stories, roughly the same fucking book, old stories that existed before any of these three religions existed. These are people just retelling the legends of the land and putting them into their religion. And a lot of these stories can be traced all the way back to ancient Samaria. They're none of these people's stories. And anyway, so I thought they belonged on the same fucking shelf, and I was right. But a better one. We had this A-frame sign out front of the store, and it said, had a giant pentagram on it, and it said, "Witch wares, witch wares, spells, potions, etc." And one day, this van pulled up that had sprawled upon it with spray paint across the side of it was. Jesus saves, confess, and forgive. And this guy jumped out, grabbed the sign, and threw it in his fucking hand. It was my day. Cops got the license number. I said, all right, well, there's nothing else you could do.
I'm in the newsroom, we're listening to the scanner, and I get this thing that there's like a high-speed chase with a bunch of cops, and they're about to...
They're listening to the scanner, and a high-speed pursuit starts in Santa Cruz. This is rush hour. In Santa Cruz, on a major street leading to the freeway. Everybody in town saw this van with Jesus saves, confess and forgive, or whatever, with the cops chasing him. They eventually do a spike strip, whole fucking thing, take the guy out at gunpoint. It ends up, I'm interviewed, I think it was Channel 7, it was like CBS or something like that. And
then he had like a whole record in Oregon or something.
This channel, the video exists. It's called Christian Gets Instant Karma. Jesus Does Not Save. So you can see Uncle Birch being interviewed about probably one of the weirdest things that happened in my shop. It was such a small town. Everybody knew about it. Everybody was stuck in traffic and saw this whole fucking police pursuit blow by them, and later found out.
My grandmother was talking about it. She
Yeah.
saw it too. Your ex's mom.
Yeah. All right. There we go. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you November 1st when the Witch School Year in a Day course opens. You know, if I don't do something before that, I probably will. But you can contact me at witchskewl@gmail.com. That's WITCHSKEWL @gmail.com. If you want to sign up for the class, $35 a month for a year. It's automatically deducted. I don't have to deal with all that. You set up an account at gumroad.com/witchschool. In the meantime, you can go to gumroad.com/witchschool, and I have WITCHSKEWL. I have a whole assortment of classes there. I even have a couple of my older Year in a Day courses at a reduced price that you can download at a reduced price and just watch them all, binge watch them all. You don't have to spend a year in a day. Some people want to spend a a year in a day. Some people don't want to spend a year in a day. So you got to give the people what they want. I even took the year in a day course and broke it into 2 courses. You can take it half at a time, making it cheaper. And then I made a bundle with the beginning course and the advanced course for still a reduced price from taking them both. But then side courses and all kinds of stuff, spiritual warfare and whatnot. Even have a tarot class up there. But check it out, gumroad.com/witchskewl, WITCHSKUL. Do is click on the class and you're signed up for it. And we'll fucking see you then. Merry meet, merry part, merry meet again, y'all.